Zora Duntov, an engineer, a race car driver, most importantly, the father of the Corvette. In less than 2 years working at GM, he transformed the docile Vette into a fire-breathing sports car that's the talk of the town. Things are going great. And then some guy named Carroll Shelby shows up and starts racing his Cobra against Zora's new Stingray. And it's better, much better. So what's a Duntov to do? Well, he goes off and builds a version of his beloved Vette to beat the Cobra. A car built in secret, hidden from the executives at GM, destined for the crusher. Today, I'm gonna tell you that story, and it's a doozy. We're going bumper to bumper on the Corvette Grand Sport. This car shouldn't even be here. Shout out to CuriosityStream for sponsoring this episode of Bumper to Bumper. CuriosityStream is a new streaming service perfect for anyone with an insatiable thirst for documentaries, non-fictional titles, and exclusive originals. They have over 2,400 titles to choose from for only $2.99 a month. That's less than a big old burrito that you can get at a gas station, which is what I eat when I watch my favorite show, Space Probes. The best part? You, our donut fam, get the first month for free if you sign up at curiositystream.com/bumper to bumper and use the promo code bumper to bumper. Support our sponsors because they support us. Thanks again, CuriosityStream. Now, back to the show. America is known for three things. You got your big old sodas, you got your pepperoni pizzas, and you got your auto racing. But in 1957, factory-backed auto racing was taken away from us. Kind of. Unlike today, there were no safety regulations enforced or performance limitations on new automobiles. It was an all-out free-for-all for car manufacturers in building the fastest production cars money could buy. But the tides, they were changing in the 50s, partially due to the most disastrous race in the history of racing, the 1955 24 Hours of Le Mans.
79 men, women, and children are dead or dying in the worst disaster in motor racing history.
So, in 1957, the AMA adopted a resolution, an agreement between the car companies that they would all stop advertising the performance of their cars and focus on safety features. But the real meat and potatoes of this resolution was that they would all stop funding their factory race teams. But racing is fun and it drives sales. People buy cars that win. So this gentleman's agreement lasted like 2 seconds. 1962, Ford said, "Frig it. I'm done with this AMA deal," and Chrysler followed soon after. Coincidentally, 62 would also be the year that a little boy from Texas named Carroll Shelby would sick his Cobra on the competition. Now, after seeing Shelby's new car out on the track, Corvette chief engineer and savior Zora Duntov got a little nervous. You see, Zora had a red-hot desire to go win Le Mans in the GT class with his Vette, but his plump, overweight Chevy was no match for the Cobra. And here's where it gets tricky. At the time, GM was the automobile manufacturer in the United States, with 53% of all auto sales in America coming from the Michigan brand. But there's these things in America called antitrust laws. Basically, if GM sales continued to grow, the government would assume that they were reaching a monopoly status and would have to split the company up. So, because of this, GM couldn't openly develop a race car to battle the Cobra, but Zora Duntov was freaking smart and a little sneaky. So he came up with the idea of building 125 lightweight Corvettes as production cars. So Zora went to the general manager of Chevrolet, Bunky Knudsen, sweet Bunky, and pitched him the idea. And Bunky agreed to help out and offered up some unofficial assistance and a budget to develop and build this new secret Corvette. Project codenamed Lightweight. Zora knew that if he wanted to beat the Cobra in his 3,200-pound fatty Vette, it needed to be put on a Duntov diet. Okay, so starting with the frame, a new ladder-type all-tubular frame was built. They cut it off at the rear axle and used thin-walled, larger-diameter tubing to save weight while maintaining strength. They tackled the body next. All the panels were made of hand-laid, paper-thin fiberglass that were significantly lighter. Anything that was steel got swapped out for aluminum. The door handles were from a 1950s Chevy pickup because they were made from aluminum and easily accessible. Zora even had them shaved down and recessed into the door for better aerodynamics. pop-up, up and down headlights are awesome. But Zora's vet needed to save weight, so he ditched the heavy motors that operated them and molded the headlight housings into the nose. If you look at the shape of the nose of the Grand Sport, it's essentially a wing, and this caused the car to want to lift its speeds over 140 miles per hour, which sounds terrifying. To prevent the car from literally taking off, engineers needed to remove air from underneath it, so they just started cutting holes in the body. The hood got gills that helped keep the front end down at high speeds. But they didn't stop at the hood. They went crazy and cut slots in the side fenders, rear quarter panels, and rear bumper to force more air out from under the car. Not only did these fins help to improve the car's performance, they helped the beefy Corvette lose even more weight. That's 60s engineering, baby.
Yeah, baby.
This car was built for FIA GT races, which require the wheels and tires to lie within the bodywork. So special fenders were designed to hang over the larger wheels. The fenders weren't designed just to satisfy the rules though. Their shape was engineered to force more air away from the belly of the beast. This car was pretty much an airplane wing in disguise. It kept wanting to go fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle. Let my spirit carry me. I want to fly into the future. Time keeps on slipping. They used the air flowing over the car to their advantage and put large scoops on the rear quarter panels to catch air and send it to cool the brakes. They even mounted a differential cooler directly on the rear deck to reduce the temp of the diff oil. A typical 63 has a split rear window, but that's more weight. That was ditched. They were replaced with plexiglass instead. Then they reduced the weight even more by using magnesium wheels. The Duntov diet was starting to work. A stock 63 Vet weighed in and around 3,200 pounds, but the Grand Sport, 1,900. That's 1,300 pounds less. That is 9.84 me's. I weigh 132 pounds. Now, cutting all that weight doesn't do you any good if you don't have a race motor to move it. While waiting for an engine to be built, a modified production L84 fuel-injected 327 was put in the Grand Sport. They took the car down to Sebring to do some initial testing, and it did good. Good enough that the big-wig GM executives heard about the car all the way on the 100th floor and sent Duntov a message to shut it down. And he did. Well, I mean, at least that's what he told him.
I lied.
Not only was he told to halt all the work on the cars, but he was told to destroy them. Send them to the crusher. Get them off the planet. So Zora did what any good father would do. Like the father of Moses, Superman, and the Penguin from Batman Returns. He sent 3 of them down the river for someone else to raise them. Someone by the name of John Nika. Oh, and he also hid the other 2 in a secret storage area at Chevrolet's Research Center. Before Zora sent 3 Grand Sports down to Texas, he loaned chassis 003 and 004 to 2 privateer racers to get some racing feedback. Chicago Chevy dealer Dick Doan got 003 and Grady Davis from Gulf Oil got 004. They put the new Grand Sport through its paces at SCCA races because the car wasn't considered a production car due to only 5 of them being built. It had to race in the modified class. The car had mixed results, but after some modifications and improvements, Davis, with Dick Thompson at the wheel, took the 004 Grand Sport to an overall victory at the 1963 SCCA Nationals at Watkins Glen. Boom diggity, this Cobra killing mongoose was starting to prove its worth. Side note, Dick Thompson got the nickname the Flying Dentist because he was a dentist. He liked winning races and filling cavities. After finding out about the cars being raced around the country at SCCA events, GM ordered them to be sent back to Zora and again to stop working on them and not race them. But Duntov was notoriously hard at hearing. So he took the cars 003 and 004 and unraced 005 car and modified them even more to reflect what they learned on the track. All those vents and holes cut in the car that we talked about before, those were implemented. Wider 9.5-inch wheels and tires were put on, and it increased grip from 0.9G to 1.1G. He continued to work on the motor that would power the Cobra Killer. That motor was the 377, a 6.2 liter, all aluminum, small block V8 with 4 58mm Weber side draft carburetors and a special aluminum cross-ram manifold. It made a claimed 550 horsepower at 6,400 RPM, enough power to scoot the lightweight Corvette to the top step of the podium. Now that Duntov had a complete race car, it was time to test it against the Cobra. From 54 to 66, the Bahamas hosted the Nassau Trophy race. Mecum entered all 3 Grand Sports in the 1963 race. The Grand Sports were almost 10 seconds a lap quicker than the competition. They were faster than Cobras, but also faster than the Ferrari GTOs. Duntov was quoted as saying, "Even though we designed the Grand Sports quickly and they lacked proper development, Nassau proved they were more than equal, not only to the Cobras, but the Ferrari GTOs." The Grand Sport was much more bare bones than the one that I am currently sitting in. Duntov had to install production-looking interior because, well, it had to be a production car, but it was all for looks. The Grand Sport team had to save weight everywhere, so the interior got slim too. The doors were stripped of the hardware, and the windows, again, were made of plexiglass, held in place with a Velcro strap. A small, lightweight knob was used to open the door from the inside, and a small, baby finger-sized indentation in the panel was used for the door handle. It had simple seats, a dash, and thin carpet. It was a race car in disguise. After the Grand Sports proved their worth in Nassau, Duntov went to work on getting chassis 001 and 002 ready for Daytona. He cut the roofs off and made them roadsters to improve aerodynamics and implemented a lot of the changes that helped the coupes be so successful in the Nassau race. But again, GM got word that Zora was still racing the cars, and 5 weeks after Nassau, GM laid down the law. Dude, if you continue to race this car, you are going to get this company split up. Seriously, Zora, please stop racing these cars. I mean it this time, dude. Stop! GM had the cars shipped back and pulled the motors. The 5 Grand Sports would get shuffled around to the various privateer teams in the 60s, eventually being pushed aside as GM failed to provide factory support while the Cobra continued to evolve and regain its supremacy. If you're curious what a super rare car like this goes for, in 2009, chassis number 2 was the only Grand Sport offered in public sale. The bidding got up to $4.9 million, but still wasn't enough to bring home the lightweight Cobra killer. But lucky for you, you don't need that kind of money to get yourself into a Grand Sport. You only need like 200 grand. And we have Superformance to thank for that. I feel like one of those guys in the 60s, just like open face helmet, got a bandana around my face. I'm just going door to door with Shelby's. That a wrap? The car we have here is not one of the original Grand Sports. This is a GM licensed Superformance car. It's not a kit car, it's not a replica, it's an official continuation car brought back to life by Superformance, built to the exact specifications of the original 63 Grand Sport based on spec drawings by Zora himself. The Superformance Grand Sport keeps the original style steering wheel, seat belts, pedals, shifter, and handbrake lever. It has updates like wheelwood brakes, 17-inch wheels in the front, 18-inch wheels in the back, but the original chassis layout and suspension is 100% period correct. The motor? Well, you can get anything, really, from a 350 horsepower ZZ4 small block to the all-aluminum supercharged LS9. And if you want to go old school, you can get a modern version of the infamous all-aluminum 377. This GS rocks a 650 horsepower LT4, the same motor found in the C7 Z06 and the 6th gen Camaro ZL1. The Grand Sport, a race car that was never supposed to be built, constructed within the dark recesses of Chevrolet's research center. The lightweight Corvette was designed to beat the Cobra, and it did. GM said no, but Zora Duntov didn't listen. While he didn't get his chance to win Le Mans, Zora proved his point. He could build a car that could not only compete against the best, but would beat them. It was a short-lived success, but a success nonetheless. Big thanks to Superformance for loaning us this car, and big thanks to the Petersen Automotive Museum for letting us shoot here. You like this story? You want to learn more about Zora? He's a really great guy. The Petersen is hosting a Zora tribute weekend on July 27th and 28th. I'll probably be here. Say what's up. And then there's a link in the description below to get all the information on that. You want to learn more about Corvettes? Check out this episode of my other show, Up to Speed. You want to know more about going fast? Check out this episode of my son Nolan's show. You like my shirt? Merch is back in stock. You can get it at donutmedia.com. Sign up for the email list to be the first to know about new drops and get 10% off of your first order. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at James Pumphrey. Follow Donut on Instagram and Twitter at Donut Media. I love you.